I had to use sheer cold in my Nuzlocke. Twice. Welcome everyone to one of the craziest Nuzlockes I've ever done. Instead of doing this hack deathless, this time I'm trying to beat the entire game with only gift Pokemon. AKA, I'm not allowed to catch anything. Lucky for us, there's a good amount of these. Every starter up to Gen 4, every fossil up to Gen 4, Beldum, Eevee, Manaphy, Porygon, Togepi, Lapras, and a mystery egg. I'm using hardcore Nuzlocke rules, as well as I can't use any EVs, setup moves, as well as Substitute and Encore are banned. Make sure to watch till the end. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and comment what you want to see next. To start our journey, I picked Chimchar, as I believe it gives us the easiest rival fights. Specifically, any other choices gives Lucas a tough Azumarill, and one of them gets Infernape. We also choose the female protagonist to not fight Dawn's tough Clefable and Lopunny. Instead, we fight Granbull and Licky Licky, much easier to deal with. We will require a few things from some of our Pokemon. For Chimchar, all I require is 16 Speed IV to outspeed Maylene's Lucario, as it's the only answer we're gonna get. In this run, I'm able to use Turtwig and Piplup as well. Luckily, Turtwig is Battle Armor, which was a requirement. I also get to use Empoleon, which I've never used before. We also get Eevee, which I will be delaying for now. The last thing I require for this run is Rain Dish Squirtle, which will turn into Drizzle. Without Drizzle, the Elite Four is insanely harder, and the Elite Four in this game is crazy. We also don't have a chance to get Pelipper, so this is needed. If you can't easily change the weather on Bertha or Flint, you're in for a really tough time. We're also able to score Thick Fat Venusaur and Levitate Charizard. Charizard in this game, if you're wondering, is Fire and Dragon, an amazing type combination. In the trainer school, we get a random egg. Unfortunately, it's Chingling, which is just about the worst thing you can get, and I will never use this thing. We knock out the rival in Jubilife, and then we get to Orberg, where we acquire Speed Boost Torchic. We also get Overgrowth Sceptile and Damp Mudkip. All of these are the best abilities, and our first attempt is looking pretty good. We also get Beldum with a minus attack nature, but we are Iron Fist, which is going to be big once we get Meteor Mash. This is one of the best mons in the game. Roark is typically really easy, and this time is no different. I taunt the Nose Pass with Monferno and Brick Break, then I go to Marshtomp. I take out the Nose Pass and I Water Pulse Geodude. I then get flinched by Cranidos, but then I kill with a Bulldoze after a miss. I then Bulldoze Bonsly twice, Water Pulse Onix, and Water Pulse Larvitar. Not the safest win, but it felt really good to get a Marshtomp sweep. These first couple gyms aren't too bad, as I'm using a lot of Pokemon that I'm used to using, but the harder the trainers become, we get less and less options for fights. And if we lose Mons, there's no new ones to replenish them. We then make our way to Floroma, picking up Facade and Captivate on the way. And you'll hear a lot about Captivate later. And we can now get our last set of starters. We get an Adaptability Typhlosion, although it has a bad nature. We get Overgrow Meganium, and unfortunately we didn't get Intimidate on Totodile. I was considering resetting on this because it's the only chance we have in Intimidate, but because of how good our other encounters are, I decided to carry on. I'm also going to be delaying a lot of evolutions. Charmander and Bulbasaur gets delayed to 26 for Flamethrower and Sludge Bomb respectively. Cyndaquil and Squirtle will be delayed even further to 44 for Eruption and Water Spouts. We're also going to be delaying Eevee for Charm. And if there's any strats I'd want to show off right now, it would be the power of pushing your EXP. Usually I play with level caps for every single boss fight, but for this challenge I'm able to push a lot of my mons to the level limit. And the Mars fight was really easy because of this. Cheryl was even easier. I mean, no one ever has problems on this fight. Then we get to Eterna, and now we have access to all the fossils. Arrow fortunately gets Rockhead, which is insanely valuable. I cannot say that enough. And then we get to use some fossils that I've actually never seen before. We score Battle Armor on Kabutops and Armaldo, and this will be a lot of fun. Gardenia is typically pretty tough, mainly because of Breloom and Roserade. The first of which gets beaten by Ivysaur or Bayleaf. The other one is always spooky. I considered using Aerodactyl, but there was some risk and I can't lose Aerodactyl or else it's a hard reset. The battle starts and I flamethrower Blossom twice with Charmeleon. I dodge a paralysis with Cherry Berry, then I kill Tangela. I miss a range on Grotle, but it only leech sees me, so I'm able to knock it out after. Monferno fake out into Flame Wheel kills the Cherub, and for Roserade, I think I could have had a better plan, but I go Matang and I Iron Head to not proc the berry. Then I have to dodge a crit and then hit a Zen Headbutt, but that's able to do the job. Lastly was Breloom, where I was able to go Ivysaur on a Mach Punch, take a Spore, and knock it out with a Sludge Bomb. A little reckless up to this point, but for now on, I know this run can make it far, so I'll be doing only concrete and creative strats. Also, opposed to the other times I've played Renplat, this time I actually know what the Switch AI is, which might not seem much at first, but I can actually create concrete and well-developed strategies. If you don't know how the Switch AI works, I have a video right here. As I said before, the power of pushing your levels is insane. Just watch this Jupiter fight. I pushed Meganium and Venusaur all the way up to level cap, and it was completely fine. And I'll still be able to use these for other boss fights. And you could do this safely with the right EXP management. We snag a Porygon, which isn't anything special, but we're not going to have any other normal types besides our Eevee right now. And then we also get a Togepi, but it's minus speed nature, which is really going to hurt. Now it's time for Mira. Bastiodon Walled Togetic, this Haunter has nothing to hit Eevee, and then look how much battle armor Armaldo took from Porygon. Then lastly, Matang beats Kadabra. For the Lucas fight, I go no item Kabutops, so I'm able to thief Piloswine's Focus Sash, giving us one before we even get to Vilestone. Then Venusaur one-shots Gramble. I could have killed Grotle, but I decided to split EXP with Meganium. Lastly, Armaldo and Gator take out Licky Licky. For Aaron, I have to get a little creative. I have a strat that beats him with 3 Mons, but we have no Crobat and Arrow baits Caesar early, so I have to touch it up a bit. And if Monferno gets crit by Caesar on switch-in, we'll be in range of Bullet Punch. So I have to bring Charmeleon as a backup as well in case that happens. I start by setting up rocks with Bastiodon. I then chip with Rock Tomb and then go to Arrow to kill. This baits in Caesar and I go Monferno on a Bullet Punch, it doesn't crit and I'm able to Flamethrower. Beautifly comes out, so I pivot Bastiodon on an Air Slash or Psychic random move, and then go Arrow on Energy Ball and kill 2 Mons. We then use Battle Armor Torterra with Soft Sand to kill Drapion. All the way up until this day, this has been the only consistent and reliable counter to this Drapion, and it always feels good to use it again. And speaking of strats, it's time for Fantina. I really wanted to try out a different evolution, but the best Fantina strat that I came up with 2 years ago requires a Dark-type Captivate user lead. The only other Dark-type I had was Gator, but Gator didn't outspeed Drifblim, and I took over a third from Air Slash, and I risked Flinch, so I had to get Umbreon. I start by spamming Captivate on Drifblim as it eventually baton passes into Mismagius. I go Bastiodon and knock it out. Drifblim comes back out, so I go back to Umbreon and spam Captivate as a baton passes into Gengar. I use Bastiodon and rest just as I'm about to get into crit range. I then pivot Porygon on a Shadow Ball into Aerodactyl on a Sludge Bomb and kill with Crunch. I once again spam Captivate on Drifblim and it goes to Dusclops. I go back to Bastiodon, click Stealth Rocks, and spam some Iron Heads. I do get burned, but a crit was able to knock it out. If I didn't do this, I would just PB stall with Porygon. Once again, I spam Captivates and get a Bite in as a baton passes into Bannet this time. I go Porygon 2 as 2 Thieves knock it out. Then Togekiss is able to kill Spiritomb with a Moonblast, and lastly, we knock out Drifblim, giving us a clean win. Super cool to see the strat that I came up with 2 years ago still work amazingly today. We got a brand new level cap and we got some brand new weapons. One of which is Empoleon. I knew this Pokemon was good, but oh my goodness, the typing is godly. We have a tricky tag battle in the mansion now. From my experience, this fight gets a lot easier if you push your EXP to the limit, as I was saying before. Lucky for us, Empoleon is a really good lead. Here we go. I start by Flash Canning the Wigglytuff as Staravia falls. Heracross then comes out and kills Espeon as I scald the Bronzong. And we're still safe as Heracross gets targeted down and dies, and I go to sleep. Flax then comes in and kills Espeon as I just continue to burn sleep turns. I then go Swampert on Raichu and Earthquake. That takes out Raichu, and then I Aqua Tail the Bronzong. I go Charizard on the Toxstroke and then Flamethrower that. And then lastly, Thick Fat Venusaur walls the Octillery. And this gives us the second to last encounter of the challenge in Manaphy. Manaphy paired with Drizzle Blastoise is a really good combo I'm excited to use. Specifically because Manaphy has the ability Hydration, which heals any status problem in the rain. For example, I can just spam Rest with me waking up immediately because of the rain. And something else that I'm excited to use with Hydration is my first ever sponsor in Rogue Energy. Personally, coffee gives me stomach aches, and I was surprised on how energized I felt after drinking Rogue, and I didn't have any tummy troubles. It has 0 sugar, so there's no crash afterwards, and it keeps me energized and focused throughout the day so I can continue high level plays in my Nuzlocks. As of today recording this, Rogue has dropped a brand new Rocket Pop flavor. It's really good. They also just stocked up on more sour candy flavor, which is my personal favorite. Use code Drxx for 20% off your order at checkout using my link in the description. Huge thanks to Rogue Energy for sponsoring this video. Anyways, on Route 215, we have 2 tough ace trainers. The first one was pretty easy with Kabutops. Battle Armor let me easily beat Gyarados and Drifblim, and I wasn't at risk of getting crit by Aqua Tail because of my Battle Armor ability. For the second one, I pivoted Venu into Arrow on Roserade to knock it out, and then Empoleon walled the Gardevoir. If I didn't have Empoleon, this Gardevoir would have been a lot scarier. Maylene is typically a fight that gives me a lot of issues, and this is no different. Without Milotic or Azu specifically, I have no great Infernape counter. Its dual stab is crazy strong. Here's what I came up with. I lead with Choice Band Aerodactyl to kill Medicham. I then have the riskless strat of going Focus Sash Infernape on Lucario. Then for Glade, I go Togekiss. I use Charm, Soft Boiled, and Brick Break to play around screens. Why on earth does this thing even learn Brick Break? But after a Brick Break, I click Moonblast, and it switch AIs into Toxicroak, and I get a crit Moonblast. Pretty insane. This baits an Infernape, and now I'm off course to my plan, and I'm actually in danger. Because of this, I have to somehow get Aerodactyl in. But the only thing that baits Fire Punch is Meganium, and I still need HP on that for Machamp. But I'm forced to do this because I have no other way of killing this Infernape. I have to pivot Manaphy into my Fairy-type Meganium. Then I have to go Aerodactyl on a Fire Punch and dodge Burn, but we're able to do so and knock it out. With Meganium at half, I don't have an easy way of killing Machamp, and Togekiss barely doesn't kill with Moonblast. And Machamp sees kill with Close Combat and Thunder Punch. I'm forced to go Meganium, and it gets the Guts activation. I click Draining Kiss, and then thankfully I dodge a crit. Then Togekiss kills Glade, and we get out of a very scary fight. And it only gets harder from here. But we can now go to Pastoria and get our last Giftmon and Lapras. I almost forgot that this thing even existed. We also get access to all the damage resist berries, some of my favorite things to use. Now it's time for the rival. Battle Armor Armaldo with Wide Lens is able to kill Staraptor, and usually for this Empoleon I use Gyarados, but obviously I don't have that right now. But the best answer is actually my own Empoleon with Earthquake. I also go Person Berry, so in case Swagger hits me, I cure the confusion and I still get the +2 attack. This brings out Breloom, and I go to one of the best sets I've ever come up with. Ganium has Draining Kiss and Sleep Talk, and that's it. This plays around Spore, and I'm able to go Cherry Berry in case I get paralyzed by Force Palm. This Breloom is also Focus Sash, so this strat is pretty necessary. Then I go Wakan Berry Omastar on Arcanine and Power Gem twice. Togekiss is able to kill Heracross, and then we spam Charm on Lax and go Bastiodon. I'm able to spam Metal Sound and Toxic. We stall it out a bit, and then we go Armaldo, knock off the leftovers, and then we go Empoleon. I'm able to get a big Scald off, then we go Meganium. Because of the -6 Spit F from my Bastiodon, I'm able to knock it out with 2 Draining Kisses. It was a little more complicated than it had to be because Bastiodon just didn't learn a special move. I had tried looking all over the place and I couldn't find anything. Well, now that I think of it, I could have gave it Hidden Power. Well, I guess I was just too lazy to go pick that up. Wake is a very interesting fight. On one hand, if I allow the rain to be up, my Hydration Manaphy with Charm and Rest can be insanely helpful. The problem is there are some fast and really scary mons that can be a huge issue, not to mention the Life Orb Ludicolo. Trust me, Water and Grass Stab with Ice coverage is insane. But also, if I get rid of Rain, I would have to scrap together an answer for Gyarados, which is not an easy thing to do, as I've had a bit of trouble in the past, you could say. Okay, he crunched me. I'm dead to crit here. So unlucky, dude! But I had a plan. Here we go. I lead with my Manaphy and click Charm until the Quagsire is at -6. I rest to full HP, then go Torterra and set up Sunny Day and Stealth Rocks. I kill with Seed Bomb and that brings out Gyarados. I'm able to use Empoleon with Feather Dance, Toxic, Rest, and Sleep Talk. Yeah, this is a bit of overkill. Because of some defense drops, I swap between Manaphy and Empoleon, but it dies and then Poliwrath comes in. We go Meganium and we eat an Ice Punch because of our Yache Berry and kill with Moonblast. Ludicolo comes in, so we pivot through Manaphy into Venusaur with Thick Fat. Yache Berry lets us live crit Ice Beam, but we get frozen, which is really not good. And I forgot to set up Sun before Gyarados died to play around this freeze. So I get punished at the worst possible moment because I don't have a good answer for this now. Empoleon doesn't have any moves to hit this, and everything else gets hit super effectively. I go to Manaphy on an Ice Beam, and then I realize it's taking Life Orb recoil. So I'm able to go back to Venusaur on an Energy Ball, and then back to Manaphy on an Ice Beam. And then I repeat this pivot until Ludicolo's in Energy Ball range from Manaphy, and I'm able to take it out. Sharpedo comes out, and then I stupidly go Empoleon, forgetting that I don't resist Dark in this game. So I go to Gator, which has the clever moveset of Brick Break, Rest, and Sleep Talk. I repeat the Rest and Sleep Talk until I kill with good HP. Last is Voltzel, and for some reason I swapped to Meganium. I honestly couldn't tell you why I did this, but this forces me to risk a couple crits on Gator. I'm kind of okay with Gator dying because it's really not that good. No Intimidate and being as slow as it is not fantastic. But I'm able to dodge some crits, rest back up to full, and kill with some Brick Breaks. Such a weird fight, but we make it out. And now we have access to Water Spout, Blastoise, and Eruption Typhlosion. And we got some really fun fights ahead of us. First of which is Lucas. On Alakazam, I protect, get a speed boost with Blaziken, and knock it out with Blaze Kick. Then I realized that I was looking at the wrong team and didn't expect him to have a Vaporeon. So I go to Venusaur, click Leech Seed, and Sludge Bomb a couple times. Then on Mamoswine, I go to Tokus on Earthquake, and then pivot to Blaziken. We live a Stone Edge crit and knock it out with Superpower as Whiter restores my stat drops. I go Charizard on Torterra and I would have been dead to crit if not for my Charty Berry. Flamethrower is able to kill it and then the Gramble comes out. I go Venusaur on a Play Rough and kill with Sludge Bomb. And lastly, Armaldo beats the Licky Licky. Of all the 3 Cyrus fights, there's only one of them that's actually difficult. And this fight is only difficult because there's a Palkia and Dialga double battle right before. But now it's time for my favorite fight of the game. And the music for this fight, so good. Usually when I play this ROM mech, I have extra level caps in place, so I can't over level any boss fight. But this time, I get to let my Typhlosion loose. I kill Gallade, Empoleon, and Metagross back to back to back. Swampert then kills Entei. Then on the Alakazam, I do a really crazy play. I pivot Metagross into Togekiss, into Umbreon, and then kill with Choice Band Sucker Punch. And then Choice Scarf Blastoise is able to kill Staraptor. Next is the Canalave rival fight, which is really tough actually. I led with Porygon Z to bait a Choice Banded close combat into my Togekiss. Moonblast is able to take that out, and then Empoleon comes out. I go Sash Infernape and kill with close combat. This baits in Heracross. But wait, I didn't expect Heracross to come out. And now it's clicking random move on my Infernape. 3 of which I'm fine with if I go to Togekiss. But if it clicks Rock Slide on my Togekiss switch, I lose my Charty Berry and then I have to risk a crit or a flinch the next turn. So I go to Togekiss and of course it uses Rock Slide. If my Infernape was just Blaze instead of Iron Fist, we could have avoided all of this. And nothing outspeeds this, so I decide instead of risking crit on my Togekiss, I go to Scarf Porygon Z. I sack that and then pick up the kill with Infernape. After that, Arcanine gets beamed by Chopa Berry Omastar, and then Breloom gets beamed by our classic Meganium set. And then I use my new Snorlax answer with Feather Dance and Toxic Empoleon. We get out of the fight, but it's our first death. The next fight is Riley. This fight I've had quite a bit of trouble with in the past. No! Please. Please miss. Crit, 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 crit. Now we eye jump kicks. No. But this time, it was pretty fun. I used close combat on the Absol lead, and then I had a white herb that made me heal the stat drops. This was good because now Salamence didn't see kill with Dragonclaw, it only see kill with Fly. So I was able to protect as Salamence uses Fly and burns his power herb. I then go Omastar as it starts to fly, and then I take the fly, and then I kill with Aurora Beam. With our HP, Lucario can only use high jump kick. So we use Protect, and then we go to Choice Scarf Togekiss and knock it out. This baits Meteor Mash from Metagross, so I go Charizard, and then I kill with Flamethrower. Then I go Focus Sash Blaziken on Ursaring and kill with Superpower. And then I just Toxicol the Slacking with Metagross. Very, very solid fight. Typically, that Salamence is one of the scariest Pokemon to prep for. And we did it all riskless. And now it's time for one of the hardest fights in the game. After beating some Galactic Bosses, we make our way to the 7th gym. But before we take on the leader, we have to do a tough double battle. My plan is to leave Blissey up while I target one side. Blissey can't really do much, and I have 2 physical attackers, so I don't care about Light Screen. I do this by Brave Birding Heracross and knocking the Blissey down so it clicks Soft Boil the next turn. I then double target the Tyranitar and then double target the Typhlosion. Then I go through the other side with a series of double targets. And now it's time to show off a cool strat for the 7th gym leader. I did forget the name of this gym leader, so if you know the name of this gym leader, make sure to tell me in the comments below. The lead Abomasnow has some pretty good coverage, and I'm going to be leading Metagross, and you might say that as Earthquake, but I have a plan. When Metagross baits Earthquake, I click Magnet Rise. This means I can only be hit by resisted hits. I click Magnet Rise, and then Sunny Day lets me play around Freeze. Then I set up rocks and knock out Abomasnow. This baits in Weavile, and we kill with Bullet Punch. On Mamoswine, we pivot Charizard into Empoleon and kill with Flash Cannon. This baits Thunderbolt from Frostlass, so we go Zard into Sash Blaziken. We protect for speed, and then we kill with Blaze Kick. On Walrein, I do a classic Rest, Sleep Talk, Toxic Stall. And then lastly, on Glacian, I go Charizard on Earth Power and kill with Flamethrower. Super clean fight, I was pretty proud of this one. We're gonna skip the second Cyrus fight because he's still a joke. But the Saturn fight was much harder. I led with Metagross, got Rocks up, and clicked Brick Break to play around screens. This baited out Magmortar. I go Blastoise into Kabutops. I kill with Waterfall, and then I knock out Rhyperior right after. Because of the Stealth Rocks, Toxicroak comes in and gets his Sash broken. I go to Togekiss and click Choice Scarf Psychic, but I forgot that the rain healed him with Dry Skin, and Sash was able to get back up, and I died a Gunk Shot. Losing Togekiss is not that good. I then go Sceptile, and I kid you not, I have no idea why Leaf Blade didn't kill this Zam. I dodge a crit, but man, I have no idea why this didn't kill. Regardless, we make it to the hardest part of the game, the 12v12 and the Cyrus fight. Even with all the games I've played, the 12v12 is still one of the hardest fights I've ever done. Usually I lead Magnezone with Shockwave, and I have a Lumberry for the statuses. But the safest option I could find against Crobat is Aerodactyl with a Lumberry. Rock Slide misses can be pretty bad. Also, I have a lot less offensive options than I'd want. Usually you really want to keep the tempo up, especially because if Barry's Mons gets targeted too much and you're just switching in and out, you'll be stuck by yourself in a matter of no time. One plus side is that my defensive typings is really good for this fight. Specifically, I had Armaldo and Empoleon who matched up well against Sableye, Kangaskhan, Purugly, and Skuntank. Swampert was here for Electivire and the 2 Bronzongs. Charizard hit a ton of Pokemon well, and Torterra was good for everything except for Yanmega, and it was a great pivot. I start the battle with Aerodactyl. I click Rock Slide, and thankfully I had both targets. The Bright Powder Crobat clicks Double Team, and Staraptor hits itself. Miraculously, we hit both targets again. That brings out Electivire and Gastrodon. I go Swampert, and then Staraptor just OHKOs the scariest mon in a fight, breaking through confusion. Staraptor dies as I stay in an Earthquake. Then Heracross comes in. I go Empoleon as Heracross misses a Cross Chop. I know Empoleon can take a lot of damage, but something important about this fight is keeping tempo. If I switch around too much, I could be in a really dire situation. Unfortunately for me, Empoleon gets double target and it falls. Really sad loss because Empoleon has been so amazing thus far. It never really gets picked over the others, but man, it was crazy. The next turn, Heracross kills Gastrodon and Armaldo kills Yanmega. This brings out both the Bronzongs, so we go Charizard as Heracross falls to a Zen Headbutt. But now we have the hard-hitting Arcanine. One of the Zongs fall, then I go Armaldo as the other one dies. We double targeted to take out the Tangrowth as Arcanine falls. Then Skuntank and Purugly kill Breloom as I damage the Skuntank. I eventually Aqua Jet Skuntank to knock it out, leaving only Sableye. I X-Scissor that slot twice as Barry goes to his last mon, and one last switch into Torterra lets a double target get us out of the fight. Super bummed to lose Empoleon, but I'm glad it went so well. Although we got past the trembling 12v12, we have another fight that's almost even harder. The Palkia-Dialga double fight was really tough for me. I usually use something like Milotic for this fight, but right now I obviously don't have one. It took me so long to come up with a strat. At some point I realized that nothing in my box had a good shot of one-shotting either one. Also, I've learned the hard way about what's called a left side AI. I can't really explain why this is, but for some reason in this game, the left side clicks random moves in every single double battle in the game. Usually you don't see this because tag battles don't count. So in the case of the 12v12, Mars and Jupiter were their own trainers. If you're fighting one trainer in a double battle, for some reason the left side clicks random moves. I cannot explain why this is, but it's so weird. It took me a lot of time to come up with this strat. But then I realized I could just bring two things that outsped both, throw focus sashes on them, double target one slot, and then double target the other slot. I did this by using Infernape and Charizard, former being good for Cyrus, but Charizard didn't really do anything in that fight. But there wasn't anything else I could bring as nothing else outsped and did enough damage. So I had to get creative with the actual Cyrus fight. We started with a double target into Palkia, then a double target into Dialga. Pretty simple. We did lose our focus sash on Infernape, but it's not a big deal. Now for Cyrus, I knew this one was going to be tight. There's a few things that are really hard in this fight. Firstly, I don't have a great Gyarados answer. Typically, I would use a focus sash fast electric type, but we don't have access to any. Secondly, because of my Palkia-Dialga situation, it meant that I have to lead with Infernape. This makes me have to switch into a Choice Band Staraptor hit. Typically Bastion would be no problem, but because Charizard doesn't actually beat anything, I need to get back-to-back kills with something. So the battle starts with an Infernape lead. I switched to Kabutops on a Brave Bird, and I needed Expert Belt because the plan is to bait in Magnezone and kill that with Dig. And no, I do not get Earthquake. So I have to hit a Rock Slide. Thankfully, we do. And then I dig the Magnezone and Expert Belt guarantees the KO. Honchkrow then comes in and I'm relying on Sucker Punch AI to guarantee me a switch safe into Meganium. Problem is, to this day, I'm not exactly sure how Sucker Punch AI even works. Typically, all priority moves get used guaranteed over other kill options, but I've seen it time and time again across generations where Sucker Punch isn't always used. So I go to Meganium and sure enough, it uses Brave Bird. And it takes us out. If it wasn't for Focus Sash, and yes, we do outspeed, but obviously I'm dead to Sucker Punch. I know that if Meganium dies we just revenge kill, so I click Moonblast and it didn't Sucker Punch again when I was on 1 HP. This will be one of the greatest AI mysteries that even I may never understand. I think there's a good chance that it might just act as a normal move, thus it was random in both situations, but who knows. Houndoom comes in next, but luckily Blaziken isn't dead to any crit. I was only dead to crit poison, but because of a Lumberry, we were safe. We protect to get a speed boost, and then we knock it out with Brick Break. This strategically baits in Gyarados, and is C's kill with Aqua Tail, meaning it can't Dragon Dance. This is big because it lets us go Manaphy, and that lets us outspeed to get a Charm off. We get a Toxic off, and then click Charm a few times and stall it out. We have enough HP to where we can bait the correct move into Infernape. It has a Focus Sash, but luckily our very balanced Pokemon can click Fake Out into Mach Punch, getting us a huge victory. Again, what you guys aren't seeing is all the prep that goes into these fights. In order to squeeze by with this little amount of options for team building, these plans have to be very specific. Meaning I have to know what I bait in, what moves the Pokemon go for, how much damage I take, and so many other factors. Previously when I did this challenge Deathless, I didn't know how switching AI worked. But now that I know the algorithm, making concrete plans was much easier and it was much more satisfying. This is exactly why Nuzlocking Emerald Kaizo was even possible. When you think about it, once you know how the AI operates, fights turn into a problem-solving game using math and logic to come up with solutions. And this is what I love about this game at top level play. Again, go check out my Switch AI video on Gen 4 if you haven't. It'll blow your mind. And also, comment down below if you want a video about crazy Pokemon AI facts. Moving on, Volkner is a gym leader that gets decimated by grass types. Two problems though are the Luxray clicking a move that you don't want it to with Choice Band, and then the Electivire is insane. It's hard to beat. It has Fighting type, a plus speed nature, Life Orb, and crazy coverage. Everything else isn't too bad, but here was my strategy. I know that all gym leaders Pokemon have the same gender as the leader, so I lead Meganium, which is the opposite gender. I click Captivate until it's at -6 special attack. This lets me go to Torterra and set up Stealth Rocks. I press Seed Bomb instead of Earthquake to play around mid-turn Switch AI. And then I kill with high enough health to play around Focus Blast Spadef Drop from Raichu. This baits Rotom Heat, which is an easy switch to Blastoise, and I kill with Scarf Surf. Raichu comes in, so I go Torterra and knock it out with an Earthquake. It's important I kill Torterra because it brings in Luxray to lock itself into Ice Fang. This allows me to go to Infernape and use Close Combat. Ronawash comes in and I know Electivire is still in the back. But honestly, when looking through my box, there wasn't any safe way of killing the Electivire, and I would have my Sceptile out. So after Sceptile kills Rotom, we do something crazy. I click Endure to get knocked into Overgrow. And now, there's only one move that could possibly kill this, and it's Leaf Storm. And thankfully, we hit. If I did miss, I would just go to my Focus Sash Swampert and Revenge Kill. Unfortunately, I'm too scared to fight Dahlia. I have a bit of a history with her.
You lied to me! Oh my god! I thought I clicked the wrong girl, you fucking lied!
Let's focus on a more enticing fight. Final Lucas battle. And let's talk a little bit about the Vaporeon. Muddy Water, Ice Beam, Rest, Sleep Talk with a Wakan Berry. Not the best coverage, but very hard to kill. I wanted to use Sceptile, but I would need a Choice Band to kill. Muddy Water accuracy drop was also a lose con. I couldn't go Sash either because to be put into Overgrow, I would need to take an Ice Beam which could freeze. I also couldn't Toxistol it because of Rest. That led me to one solution that I found. You might be wondering how I'm able to kill this with Lapras. Lapras does get Thunderbolt, but it doesn't do nearly enough. I do get Toxic, but again it has Rest. And if you remember the intro of this video, you might guess where this is heading. Let's start the battle. I lead Blaziken, protect for speed boost, and then knock out Zam with Night Slash. On Vaporeon, I go Lapras, and I was Water Absorbed so Muddy Water couldn't drop my accuracy. We then click Sheer Cold a few times, get some misses, but then eventually we get the hit. In hindsight, Leopard Berry was definitely better to increase my odds, but spamming Thunderbolt and Toxic was a good backup plan, and I could have always PB stalled it, but let's just say that Sheer Cold was the best play for the fun of it. This baited in Torterra, so I went Aerodactyl with a Focus Sash to play around crit, and then Brave Bird knocks it out. On Mammothswine, I go to my Sash Blaziken and Superpower. I then go Venusaur on Gramble and Sludge Bomb. Lastly, Sash Infernape kills Licky Licky. If you couldn't tell by now, Focus Sash is a really good item. Now, this last rival fight was tough to say the least. Usually, Gengar or Mismagius hard walls the Snorlax, but without one of those, Lax becomes really hard to play around. First of all, if it curses, there's nothing that's one-shotting it, and you have to bait Crunch specifically most of the time or else you're risking paralysis, let alone crits. Feather Dance and Polion would have been fantastic here, but we had to get creative with that death. The Staraptor is also much harder to play around. My plan is to use Wide Lens Rock Slide Armaldo. Battle Armor would let us dodge crit. So the battle starts, and Staraptor decides to use U-turn into Empoleon. Now this is another move where I just don't know how it works, and this was incredibly bad, as it messed up my whole switch order plan. Though I was a little naive at the time and didn't realize this. I go with my original plan of going Lapras into Infernape with Sash and killing with close combat. But then Staraptor comes in, and because of the U-turn chip, Armaldo is dead to Brave Bird from Staraptor. So I have no choice but to sack it. I then go Aerodactyl, take a Brave Bird, and kill with our own. This baits in Breloom, which fortunately doesn't have a Focus Sash this time, so it's an easy kill. This baits out Heracross. And right now I'm feeling amazing being able to get 3 kills in a row. But this would prove to be the biggest mistake I could have made. Listen to this. The thing is, there's Arcanine and Snorlax in the back. Per Gen 4 Switch AI rules, it's supposed to go into the Pokemon with a super effective move and the best type matchup against you. And judging by Aerodactyl's typing, it should only be able to go to Arcanine, as it's the only one left with a super effective move. But when we were testing the Switch AI, we discovered a few glitches, one of which being Earthquake being seen as super effective on Aerodactyl in all rock flying types. This meant that because both Snorlax and Arcanine were both resist on the AI priority sheet, and both having super effective moves, it resulted in the AI merely picking the Pokemon that came next in order, and that happened to be Snorlax. And this is what I'm talking about. I don't kill Snorlax, and it can click Curse. And I don't have a Body Slam pivot because my Armaldo is dead from U-turn chip. Do you see how that one turn at the start screwed over everything? If I stay in and click Brave Bird and it curses, it could just slack off, and then I'm in a terrible spot too. With my hands folded in prayer, I hope for no curse and go to Infernape. And lucky for us... Oh shoot. Now I don't kill, and Infernape is a Pokemon I need for the Elite Four. I fake out for some big chip, and it's looking hopeless, but I still have one last hope. You see, since the last fight, I didn't change my Lapras moveset. Specifically, I still had one move that could save us. I go to Lapras, dodge a crit and a para, and now it's time to click Sheer Cold to get us out of this situation. Yeah, imagine. Sadly, the only way of getting past this fight will be an Infernape sack. It pains me, but it has to be done, and I have to rework my Elite Four team. We finish it off with Aerodactyl, then Swampert beats the Arcanine. And on the bright side, we have a chance at the Elite Four. On the downside, my box is not crazy for the Elite Four. Maybe it's a little dramatic, but it's definitely the worst one I've ever had. If you didn't know, each of the Elite Four members and Champion have one of 4 random teams, making it unironically one of the hardest Elite Fours in any game I've played. Granted, Drizzle Blastoise is amazing, but I don't have an insane Swift-Swim Pokemon like Kingdra or Lovedust to be paired with it. My Own-Star does have Swift-Swim, but it's far too slow to outspeed even half of the Pokemon in the league. I'm able to come up with a team of Blastoise who will set important weather on Bertha and Flint. Manaphy, who is a wannabe Rain Sweeper, but is also a Sportmon. Torterra, which is, you know, just about the best Pokemon in the game. Aerodactyl, who is literally the best Pokemon in the game, and will permanently hold a choice band. Metagross, who is the single best Pokemon for Lucian, and has just about the best typing for the Elite Four, besides 2 Pokemon I can think of off the top of my head. And then lastly we bring Kabutops, who performs fantastically under Rain, and honestly, this team is actually pretty good. Nothing compared to the insanely OP teams I've had before. Especially without Pelipper. Pelipper being flying typing just helps you so incredibly much. But anyways, this is my team now. The Aeron plan revolves around Choice Man Aerodactyl. It outspeeds and kills most things. Caesar can be an issue, but our Specs Blastoise can do the trick. For all the Drapions, Torterra can easily beat them. And that's the general plan. Now looking at the Elite Four teams, every lead is relatively fine. Even Intimidate Masquerade, because we still kill on -1. Though Sash Beautifly and the fact that we're -1 after killing would be a little scary with that team. But the Yamega team in particular is extremely tough, because Yamega has Protect and Speed Boost, allowing it to outspeed me. And the Heracross has Choice Scarf, which could prove deadly. I have no fighting resist, and the dual stab from Heracross is insanely scary, and nothing outspeeds it. Imagine if we got that team. Now, Aerodactyl HP is valuable, but I don't die to crit. It protects turn 1, and now it outspeeds me. And then Yamega clicks Protect. So, I'm able to kill it, and that baits in Caesar. I go Blastoise and kill the Specs Surf. That brings out Heracross though, which is really bad. I can't Protect, and it's going for either Mega Horn or Close Combat. And I don't think I need to tell you why that's terrible. Anything I switch into is just dead to crit, and there's really no good position I can get in. Nothing outspeeds this again. So this early on into the run, we have to risk a crit. And unfortunately, yeah, imagine. Vespiquen then comes out, so we go Arrow and Brave Bird. That brings in Armaldo, going for Stone Edge, so we go to Metagross and Meteor Mash. It was banded, so we were safe if we missed a few times. Lastly, Torterra kills Drapion, and we advance. For Bertha, we need Rain Up no matter what. The problem is, the lower speed Pokemon always gets the weather up with their abilities. To circumvent this, I give Blastoise a Power Anklet. This halves our speed, guaranteeing us getting Rain on the first turn. The problem is there wouldn't be a reliable way to play around Stealth Rocks. Lucky for us, we got the Tyranitar team. This lets me go Torterra on a Choice Scarf Stone Edge. We PP stall it, then kill with Manaphy, and this baits out Choice Band Arena Trap Dugtrio. And I'm usually dead to Choice Band Earthquake. You might ask me how I got in this situation. I desperately try to see if I can switch to see if I can go to Arrow, and haha, I actually can. A while ago, I found out that some of the abilities in the dock are just flat out wrong, like Drought Charizard and Arena Trap Dugtrio. This hindsight was very valuable. But for some reason, this Dugtrio went for Night Slash, and I'm pretty sure this was because of high crit rate AI. But now my Arrow is dead to crit. But luckily we outspeed and knock it out, bringing out Swampert. It's pretty scary in Rain, but we're able to pivot through Manaphy into Torterra, and we outspeed and kill with Seed Bomb. Mamoswine comes out, and it has a Pasho Berry, which is really not good. I'm forced to go Metagross on an Icicle Crash and risk an Earthquake crit, if I didn't have the Shuka Berry. But I did have to hit a Meteor Mash, and luckily I do. Rhyperior comes out, and it's going for Mega Horn or Earthquake. Because of that Dugtrio Night Slash, I'm unfortunately in range of Mega Horn. This means I have to potentially risk crit on Arrow, because Kabutops and Blastoise are both dead if it Earthquakes. Torterra was dead if it Mega Horned. It does go for Mega Horn, but thankfully we dodge a crit. And because I know it's locked into Mega Horn, I can go Kabutops and knock it out with a Waterfall, and then we kill Claydol, who falls to another Waterfall, giving us the win. Flint is usually pretty easy with Rain teams. I say usually because there is one team with Torkoal. It can mess you up. I can't underspeed it, so Sun would go up, and it has Stealth Rocks and Focus Sash. We start the fight, but unfortunately we get one of the lame teams. Rain goes up, I get hit by a Moonblast as I kill with Surf. Houndoom comes in, so now I know what team it is. It's Choice Scarf, but I'm not dead to crit. I dodge a flinch and knock it out. Infernape comes in, so I go Torterra on a close combat and knock it out with Earthquake. Flareon is next and is banded, so I protect. Now I see it's going for Flare Blitz. This allows me to go to Aerodactyl and Brave Bird. I do get Flame Bodied, so I can't knock out Magmortar now. But I know it's going for Aura Sphere or T-Bolt, so I'm able to go to Metagross. And then I'm always baiting a Flare Blitz, so I go to Manaphy and take it out with a Surf. Easy win. Lastly is Lucian, by far the hardest. And I'll tell you why. Metagross, plus attack, Iron Fist, Steel Stab is deadly, and it also has Explosion. I have nothing that safely kills this. Alakazam is also hard to switch into. Starmie is nearly impossible to switch into. I mean, look at this. And besides Arrow, nothing outspeeds. Gallade is also really tough because I have no fighting resists. Choice Scarf Medicham basically gets a free kill on me as well. Even Bronzong can be a huge issue. And if I get the Alakazam team, in which playing safely against the lead is virtually impossible, has a Metagross and Starmie, I basically just lose and there's nothing I can do about it. Imagine if I got that team. This is insanely bad. Not only do I have to find a way to kill this Alakazam, not only do I have to just risk something against Metagross, not only do I have to be positioned well for the Gallade, but Starmie. Starmie is the single most demonic mon I could possibly be matched up against with my team. So here's what I have to do. I have to hope for no T-Wave so I can go to Metagross and bait an Aura Sphere into Blastoise. I can't go Manaphy yet because Rain isn't up for my hydration. I can't go Manaphy on a Psychic because I'm gonna need it for Metagross later. Unfortunately, Blastoise comes in on a T-Wave. At least this lets me go Manaphy, and now I'm in the Rain. It clicks T-Wave, I get the Hydration proc, and I Surf. But then it switch AIs into Executor. And that's now one more fast Pokemon in the back I have to worry about. We just knock out the Executor and then Gardevoir comes out. I go Metagross and I realize that my only way of getting out of this is having Arrow out when Starmie comes in. Seems easy enough as Starmie is the highest on the AI bait priority list. But if I go to Arrow on any crit move and I die, we basically just lose. On my Metagross right now, highest damage is Thunderbolt. And there's not a single mon on my team that can bait Aura Sphere. That would be the only move I could switch into Arrow on. So not only do I not have a fighting resist, I don't have a reliable way of baiting Aura Sphere into my Aerodactyl. So I just kill Gardevoir with Metagross, bringing out Gallade. And unfortunately, I had no choice but to bait this in. And as I said before, I have no resist to fighting. And this Scope Lens Gallade is clicking close combat. I thought a lot about this play. I really was considering sacking something. I really wanted to. But I just determined that my odds against Cynthia is really not good for most teams. My team is just too slow and a little weak. I was going to need everything I had for that. Maybe sacking is the best play, but I didn't think it at the time. And man, wouldn't it be so hype if I dodged a Scope Lens crit? And this, my friends, is a lesson about greed. Always risk it for the content because that's the best business move, baby. Gallade falls to a Brave Bird and then we bait in the Starmie and we get the sweet Brave Bird Oko with our Aerodactyl positioned in. Metagross then comes out and we are not out of the woods. The best shot I have is that I have to dodge 2 crits, a potential Meteor Mash boost, and pray it doesn't click Explosion. But this is the story of Rogue. Remember to use code Drxx for 20% off Rogue Energy products. New Rocket Pop flavor just released. And Sour Candy, the best flavor of all time, just restocked. Get it before it runs out. For Cynthia, it's hard to say exactly what on her team is threatening, because just about every Pokemon poses a threat. But something that's insanely OP for me is the fact that Arrow outspeeds just about every Pokemon. And at certain points, I can go Sack and then go back to Arrow later in the fight. I decided that Metagross was a pretty good lead into most teams, Milotic being the scariest. Here we go. We get the Togeous lead, which is great. This allows me to set up stealth rocks, and then I click Brick Break to knock out the screens. We don't outspeed, but Brick Break into Bullet Punch always assures there are no screens that go up. That baits in Spiritomb, and I didn't have a great answer for this. My plan was to fire off some Dazzling Gleams with Manaphy and then go Arrow on Rest if needed. The problem was Calm Mind and Sleep Talk meant that there was always some risk. Luckily, it goes for Dark Pulse on our switch. Dazzling Gleam procs the berry as a Calm Minds. We Gleam again and then take a Pulse, but we are able to knock it out. Lucario is next, and it's going for High Jump Kick. And trust me, nothing is ever switching into this. So I decide to sack Blastoise after getting the rain up. That one-shot at me from full. Arrow comes in for the revenge kill and baits Glaceon. I go Metagross intending to sack, but we dodge a Blizzard. So 2 Bullet Punches take it out after dodging another one. Garchomp comes in and clicks Swords Dance. I then Meteor Mash, and I Bullet Punch to sack Metagross. Then I go Aerodactyl, kill with Brave Bird, and then lastly, Milotic comes in, and it falls to Brave Bird, winning us the challenge. All I can really say about this journey is that it's insane how many shiny Pokemon I got. Make sure to subscribe as I'm going to have some big videos uploaded soon. And as always, thanks for watching. This was a ton of fun. If you want the brutal honest truth, I did this challenge because I knew so much about this game already. And frankly, even though I was limited in what Pokemon I could use, this game gives you way too many resources. Regardless if you like these type of challenges, make sure to check out my Deathless Nuzlocke. I also made a new playlist called Big Brain Plays Only. Make sure to check that out. Also, I'm going to be moving back to Texas this week, something I'm super excited about. So I'll be having a new stream setup and schedule. I'll update you guys more on that in the Discord. Make sure to comment what you guys want to see in the future. Make sure to use code DRXX for 20% off Rogue Energy, and have a fantastic day, everyone.